Morning, folks. All right. So in some previous videos, we discussed the notion of practicing pranayama, the breathing exercises to, draw the vital energy, the pranic energy into the physical body. Today, I want to talk about asana, and what I believe are the four foundational poses that essentially make the bedrock for, or the bedrock foundation of all the asana. It can be broken down to basically four seed poses. Okay, the four poses that the four asana that I'll be discussing would just be, a forward bend, a back bend, a twist, and some sort of modified version of an inversion. Okay, so forward bend, back bend, twist, and an inversion. Those are your four, I'd say, seed poses. And a balancing. Yeah, let's say five then, and a balancing pose. But then again, that's optional. Some may not feel that that's necessary, because essentially, everybody would love to believe that they have complete free will. However, the one space where I really feel we don't have a choice in terms of the decisions that we make is in the physical body. I mean, the physical body is essentially your vehicle. It's your gift. And we would love to think that we have full autonomy over the decisions that we make regarding our body. However, there's some things that in terms of maintenance, that just have to be performed. If you own a physical body, there are certain movements that have to be done on a consistent basis, regardless of whether you practice yoga or not. They just have to be. I consider like a hygiene, like brushing one's teeth or washing one's skin. There's some things that you simply cannot neglect just due to this vehicle that one has to do their due diligence to own a vehicle. This thing, this suit that we wear is on loan, and we have a duty to maintain it, and not to the degree of like a full-time yoga practitioner, but those four movements are absolutely vital in maintaining a stasis in the body. They simply cannot be neglected. Any kind of illness that arises as a result of neglecting the body that's the responsibility of the owner of the vehicle. And I really think these four poses are absolutely crucial in just at least getting the energy to move through the body. Anything on top of that, of course, is going to be, excellent, in terms of expanding one's movements. But if you own a physical body, you got to be able to bend it forward. You got to be able to bend it backwards. You got to be able to twist that body. And you got to be able to at least, in some fashion, invert it, to give that heart a rest, okay? Okay, so the four poses that I'll address will be Paschimottanasana, which is your seated forward bend. We'll do the spinal twist. We'll do Bhujangasana, which is your cobra. I believe the spinal twist is Ardha Matsyendrasana, Ardha Matsyendrasana is your spinal twist, and then Matsyasana will be. The fish pose is essentially the inversion that we'll do. And these four poses alone, you might have fun with it. You might want to expand a little bit deeper as a result of practicing these four. But these four are just, like I said, it's like brushing and flossing your teeth. You know what I mean? If you got a body, you just... And I would even go so far as to say, if you're not doing these four movements every single day, I would honestly, begin to, question how on earth, and if you're relatively healthy, how on earth, I would love to get the feedback on how that works, because the body thrives on movement. The more you move this thing, the more that you actually get this thing moving, and the more that energy flows through, that in terms of building one's immunity, this is the final frontier. Okay, so I'll demonstrate these 4 poses, and I would love for you guys to at least assess your at your own leisure, assess where you are in terms of that flexibility. These poses all can be modified, so they don't have to be done in the perfect alignment from the get-go, but that perfect alignment should be the ideal. Okay, so let's begin with Paschimottanasana. That's your full forward bend. Let me see if I can get this. Okay, let's see here. All right, perfect. Okay. All right, let's see here. Okay. Excellent. All right. Okay. So, naturally, for a first-time beginner, okay, the thing that I've always noticed is anytime anybody first tries forward bends, they C-shape the spine, because they're not used to essentially creating lift from the get-go. So I always tell anybody who's an absolute beginner, with the legs basically extended all the way out, to root the palms with the fingers pointing away from the hips directly back and behind the sits bones, all right? And the first activation is pulling the elbows together. You know what I mean? So once you pull those elbows together, what is it? It starts to create a bit of lift, okay? And the elbows are slightly bent. From there, you root down into the palms, and through rooting down through the palms, you create that vertical lift in the spine, okay? And with that straight spine then created, all right, you pull your shoulder blades together, and that really gives you a nice activated upper body, and also, a nice long spine that extends from the back, or actually from the crown of the head all the way down into the tailbone, all right? Now, I want you to bring your awareness into your pelvis, okay? Again, naturally, people will want to curve in that lower back, so maintaining that lift, okay? I want you to tilt that pelvis forward and kick that tailbone to the back of the room, all right? And that'll help create that alignment that you've got now with the arms, but once the arms remove, you can still maintain that alignment, okay? All right, so then from that space, with that pelvis tilted forward, activate your quads. Squeeze those quads and press energetically out through your heels, okay? And then just raise the arms high above the head and interlock your thumbs, okay? Now see if you can maintain from this space, okay? And then all you have to do is hinge from the hips. Don't fold from the middle of the back. Hinge from the hips with that flat spine, okay? And reach. Okay, place your hands to the outsides of the feet, okay, and pull those feet back towards your pelvis so you can sit up nice and straight in that lower back, okay? You see how the spine, none of this, we pull. We're pulling the spine long, because basically what the challenge is to get the chest to touch the quads, okay? Now, all right, if we're in that space, and the hamstrings won't allow, just bend the damn knees. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? So you root from here, arms directly above, lengthening, and same thing. You fold and you clasp the outside of the feet with the knees bent. Okay? So it can be modified. But again, the ideal, we want these legs straight to lengthen the hamstrings. Because, if this isn't lengthened on a regular basis, they tighten up, and it really limits your mobility, okay? So root down into the palms, directly back and behind the hips. Draw the arms high above the head. Interlock your thumbs and tilt your pelvis forward. Take a deep breath in. I want you to pull your belly all the way into the back of the spine, all right? As you pull that belly in, that'll allow your rib cage to expand. And remember, hinge from the hips. Hinging from the hips, okay? Hands to the outsides of the feet. Lift and lengthen. Raise your forehead up. Take a deep breath in Then exhaling, drop all the way in. Extend those elbows out to the side and drop the chin into the chest. Okay? All right? Again, don't sweat it. If the knees have to be bent, you're still going to get the same quality of length along the spine. So drawing the arms again with knees bent for the beginner. Interlock the thumbs, tilt the pelvis forward, draw the belly into the back of the spine, inhale deep, exhale, hinge from the hips, lengthen, and fold. Hands to the outsides of the feet, okay? Drawing those feet all the way back into the pelvis, like almost like you could imagine that you're pulling the feet directly back into the pelvis. What does that do? It lengthens that lower back. You know what I mean? So it's that beautiful long spine versus that passive C shape. So we lengthen, you see, drawing the rib cage and the chest over the tops of the legs. That's where it's at. You know, none of this, you know, this is counterproductive. And again, what ends up happening is all the abdominal organs come out, you know what I mean? And once the abdominal organs fall out, you know, you're basically competing against the guts, you know? So from that space with the knees bent, remember, hinging from the hips, hands to the outsides of the feet, pull those feet back, lengthening that lower back, raise and extend your chin, inhale deep, and then, and remember, chest is directly over the tops of the legs, then drop in, okay? Hold for about a minute to a minute and a half. I mean, it's just a must. It's a must perform. Everyone must be able to fold. You got to be able to fold the body. And you can do it from a standing position if you prefer. I just love the seated forward bend because it allows you the full release of the parasympathetic nervous system because, you know, it really calms and cools the body, you know, so, you know, it's a beautiful full expression, you know, hinging, hands to the outside of the feet, lengthening, drop in, and maintaining. You want to hold it, especially for the beginners, you want to maintain that for at least a minute to a minute and a half, you know what I mean? Even longer if you prefer, okay? So that's your forward bend. It's probably one of the hardest because of the hamstring flexibility. If it's really compromised, it can take probably anywhere from 3 to 6 months to get a full forward bend locked in if you're only practicing, you know, for a few minutes at a time. But if that consistency is there, you can get that forward bend dialed in, you know, I'd say even from a straight beginner in 3 months, you know, it's doable. But again, this is brushing your teeth, guys. This isn't even like going deep into the asana. This is just the brushing your teeth asanas, okay? All right, so, okay, so that's the forward bend. All right, so a back bend, Bhujangasana. This is essentially the baseline back bend. If you're not doing this to a certain degree, then, you know, I don't even know what to say. It's a must. It's an absolute must, okay? So here we go. All right, so from a resting position, you know, directly on the abdomen. God, I'm trying to see if this is actually lining up in the camera. All right? You want to line up your hands directly underneath your shoulders with the fingertips lining up with the top of the shoulder, okay? Okay, and you want to draw the forehead flat. All you want to do to begin is just raise your head and neck and use the strength of the back to create that lift alone. If need be, take the hands from the mat and just see where you're at in terms of creating lift. If you feel like you're about to collapse, you're not using the back and you're not activating, okay? By activating, I mean squeeze through your quadriceps, lengthen all the way out through the toes, pull your shoulder blades together, and then root the palms back in, okay? As you root those palms down, I want you to pull your elbows all the way into the rib cage and just come up to a small angle. It doesn't have to be freaking high, You know what I mean? But it has to be enough to work down into that lower back, squeeze through the hips and the buttocks to protect that lower back, and then raise